welcome back to Tap Tempo with me, Matt Lange. Next week, I will be at the Avid Connect conference as part of NAB. I'll be talking on two different panels. They are on April 7th, and it is about mixing in the box as well as Pro Tools and the creative process. And then on April 14th, I'll be playing here in LA at Exchange with some of the Anjuna Deep guys, Jody Wisternoff and Grum. So aside from all that, this week on the show, I have Blue Stahli. Blue Stahli is a multi-instrumentalist, electronic rock producer. He gained really his first fan base via the association of Cell Dweller and the Fixed record label, but he's definitely doing his own thing. So he's got a wicked sense of humor. We ended up spending about 9 hours yesterday together, so it was a fun time. He's a great guy, and here's our conversation.
She fucking hates that.
Really?
Hates it so much. And she's like, pick a different song. I'm like, fine. Alexa, play Cotton Eye Joe by Rednecks. And then Cotton Eye Joe kicks in. She's like, no, man. Like you know what I'm saying. Another song. I'm like, fine. Alexa, play anything by The Real McCoy or LaBouche.
Oh,
yeah.
Another Night.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I had that CD.
I torture her mercilessly with that.
Oh. I got drugged on a tour bus once, and
you say you got drugged on a tour bus?
Yeah,
like someone slipped something in your drink.
They gave me something different than I thought it was, and I relegated myself to the back of the tour bus, and then just on repeat out of the system in the tour bus, I just played "Hadaway, What Is Love" on repeat.
Oh, I love it!
And that was my way of coasting over the fear of
there you go.
The hallucinations to come.
Hey, Hadaway will be there for you. That's the I am not. I don't believe in guilty pleasures. You like what you like,
right?
So I'm like, I will pull up right next to someone with all the windows down. I'm like, I'll play that whole fucking LaBouche CD in front of you.
Sometimes you need someone to just say, "Baby, don't hurt me."
Yeah, exactly.
No more.
Yeah.
Which LaBouche?
The one that the first one. That had Be My Lover on it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
God, there's that En Vogue's, or What's It Gonna Be? Do you remember that one?
Yep.
I don't think that's the name of it. I think it...
I've also...
Don't Let Go.
But saying En Vogue, I do have to... If it's going to be En Vogue, it has to defer to Free Your Mind. Because then the rest will follow.
Very poetic.
I fucking love that song so much.
So I go back every now and then, I'll listen to that stuff. And you know what I love about it? There is a sophistication in the chord progressions.
Yeah, there is.
It's smart.
There was a musicianship. It's the sort of thing where it's like you can tell that it's people who are classically trained in new theory and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm so dumb. So I just sort of do stuff by feel and things like that. And I'll hear people like, oh yeah, here's like a diminished ninth and this minor seventh. I'm like, yeah. The noises are neat. I like that.
Right.
But there's some people who, I think sometimes you can see these writers that fall into the trap of because they know a shit ton about theory, they overwrite.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this pre-chorus is going to have 8 different chord changes in it. It's like, well, you could have held on the root for that maybe a little longer.
Right.
And it's almost like for pop stuff today, we've gone so far in the other direction where it's here's just 4 chords. This is all you get for 3.5 minutes.
Right.
Whereas back then it was a perfect balance of here's the accessible way to have these moving, very intelligent chord progressions, and also En Vogue is super hot. So
yeah, I mean that doesn't hurt. But yeah, we still have super hot pops. Well, for the most part,
yeah.
Super hot pop stars, but the music isn't so super hot anymore.
Yeah.
And I kind of miss that because I'll go back to the '90s, and I hate always sounding like the old curmudgeon about this shit.
Oh yeah.
But man, there was really smart musicality that was hidden in there. It was still extremely accessible.
Yeah.
But you could just tell, that guy had a jazz background.
Yeah.
Just the way he slips that, the minor 9 into that chord, you just don't get it now where it's all root fifth. And that's all you get. And I don't know. you surprise me with that because I mean there is a sophistication in your music, and it's obviously like
thank you for that because I don't think so, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
maybe it's just an idiot savant thing.
That is, I mean, I do rock myself back and forth and can tell you how many matchsticks you threw down in front of me.
Really?
Yeah. No, again.
So there's skills involved there. It's well done. You know, it's not amateurish music.
Oh, well,
by
thank you.
any means. I mean, go back 10 years ago. I mean, like even when you listen to, was Ultranum really the first thing that you were known for?
That was the first thing that really like hit.
Yeah, okay.
So before working on artist material, I was tasked with doing a 22 song production album. And they're like,
that
okay,
makes sense.
Yeah, they were like, this is going to be like your basically like production boot camp because I'd only been in the box before then. Like, oh, we're gonna you need to learn how to use this Mackie mixer and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and also I was new to the label, so like, well, let's like show us what you can do. Can you do are you a rock guy? Are you a hip hop guy? Are you a techno guy? What are you doing?
Was this fixed or?
Yeah, this is fixed. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was really also just showing like, well, here's the range, and they're like, and this is just going to be for production music, so it's not artistically representative of you. This is going to be like playing in the background in cribs.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you got to make us just show us what you can do. Yeah. So I did all this like that wound up getting released as an artist record, but I differentiate that stuff that's made for film and TV that like still will show up on Spotify as like Anti-Sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
I noticed that.
Yeah. So Anti-Sleep 1 was that album where it's like, oh, well, here's me just showing, I've freshly moved up here and I just got signed. So I'm going to start doing this stuff. And it was like, okay, well, here's like an electronic rock thing. Here's a, super jazzy kind of stuff and kind of Fatboy Slim-esque breakbeats and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know shit about music theory or any of that stuff. I'm like, oh, well, this feels right. That sounds wrong. This sounds right. And like I can edit myself into sucking less, hopefully.
Yeah.
And put that put that thing out, and then it was time to start doing the doing artist material. And Ultranum was something that came out of I was working on the track Scrape because that started as one of those production music tracks, and they're like, this is kind of cooler than just being one of these. So like, why don't you just sing over this and like, hype up the production a little bit more? Like, yeah, okay.
Right.
And that was also the first song I screamed on.
Really?
Yeah. I had never done it before. Like outside of just being in my car and yelling at people on the road who drive stupidly.
Yeah.
And then realizing that I'm the problem. So I was trying to write a bridge or something for it.
Yeah.
And, that thing where it's like, oh, I'm technically working on a bridge thing for this, but like you wind up spiraling off into other ideas.
Totally.
The riff to Ultranum came from that. So there was like, I had it drop down into it because Scrape is like this fast song.
Yeah.
Had it drop into a halftime. And then as I was noodling around, that riff came out from Ultranum. They're like, oh, this is another song. Like, you need to do this as its own separate song.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I just know the stuff that I like. So it's like, oh, well, I like this genre. I like this genre. Let's mix all this stuff together. And, hopefully it'll gel together in the end. I basically just throw a bunch of ideas at the wall and they all suck. And eventually it sucks slightly less. And then I release it.
You sound like an artist. Do you have a background in singing? Or is that just
that's new
being in the car?
Yeah. I tried to years ago I tried to go to like a vocal coach.
Yeah.
And this was after I'd like, this is like albums deep. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should like work on this more because this is the only thing I do for a living because I'm too dumb to do anything else. Like, can't work in Abacus, so I don't know numbers.
Right.
And I only got the 10 fingers. So I go to this like vocal coach.
Yeah.
And it was someone who was like, Broadway jazz.
Yeah.
And like every little inflection that I had that was like, is kind of like a signature for me, whether I like it or not. She's like, no, you got to tone that down.
Yeah,
it's got to be, no, you've got to do your vibrato this way. I'm like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I was doing fine without
Right.
this. And like, it's going to sound forced. Like, it's going to sound like someone with, Broadway training,
Right.
trying to sing a rock and roll song. So like, I had no vocal background. It was just like, oh, well, there were certain things I liked to sing along with. And there were, certain singers that I really liked, and people that I connected with like, oh, I like what this person does. I will never be able to do that in a million years.
Who are you influenced by vocally?
I really, really love Skin from Skunk Anansi.
Okay.
Her vocals are just, it's insane. And it's insane the amount of like emotion she can put into things, and just get like, she can make something feel super heavy just with her delivery. She's not screaming. It's just her enunciation that she's doing, and it sounds super aggressive. And she makes it sound like there's tricks that she does, that she modulates her voice and just makes things sound aggressive. But then can sing like the most beautiful and the most soulful things. I'm a huge fan of Skin. Chris Corner from IMX was a big. That's kind of like when I started discovering that range of my voice, because I would just sort of like sing along with stuff just to like, oh well, I'm in the car, and I might as well just annoy myself. Maynard is definitely a big one.
Yeah. Okay.
which is probably very, very apparent in some songs.
He's mine. So yeah. I mean, like, that's why I wonder, because there's certain things you notice.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that's one that it's. I feel like the Maynard and the Maynard and the Chris Corner influences are pretty much worn on my sleeve.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like most people wouldn't expect like the female vocal thing.
Sure.
Like I listen to more female vocalists than male vocalists. Like I've recently been I've been listening to like everything Emma Ruth Rendell
she's
has ever
awesome.
done. I love Emma Ruth Rendell so much.
I have the Marked for Death album.
Yes,
and
Marked for Death is great.
Oh, I listened to that nonstop on tour last year.
I love it.
It was beautiful.
One of my favorite records.
Like Chelsea Wolfe, I'm super into. I mean, I got into, I think, Emma because of Chelsea Wolfe.
Okay, yeah.
And that whole the Sargent House side is really cool.
They know what they're doing with that.
They do really cool stuff.
They know what they're doing. And what was it, Emma's band before her? Marriages. Marriages is super cool.
I don't know them.
There's a Marriages apparently she was in some like post rock band called Red Sparrows, and then it was like her and like one or two of those guys did Marriages, and it's sort of like it's basically that Marked for Death record, just a little heavier.
Interesting.
And heavy's the wrong word, because it's like it's heavy in the way that like a post rock thing is.
Yeah. Right.
But like that's the sort of stuff that I really did. Like, even though there's a couple songs that I scream on, like screaming is not my favorite thing to do, and I've been toning it down more and more.
When you scream, have you figured out the technique not to hurt your voice yet?
No, and that's why I'm toning it down.
Yeah.
Because when I did the Blue Stahli debut, I was trying to study all those different ways, and like I knew that there is a way to do this. I couldn't crack it.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I gotta get these songs done, man.
Yeah.
So I just started doing that.
Yeah.
And just tearing my voice up.
Yeah.
Tearing my voice up. And I'm like, this is not sustainable. And if I go on tour,
oh, you're fucked.
This will screw me completely. And also, the more I was like, the more I started playing like more acoustic stuff, more singer-songwritery type of things that I would then convert into these larger songs.
Sure.
I go into falsetto a lot. And even if you're doing the screaming stuff the safe way, like the more and more that I read about it, like even those safe ways of like the fry scream and stuff like that, I don't even know if this is true or not, but I read it and scared the shit out of me. They're like, if you keep doing that false chord shit, then eventually your falsetto just is gone. That range just it's gone. I'm like, well, that's most of what I'm writing. So
I probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah. So like there's a song I'm rapping this week that I cut a bunch of vocals to, and the last thing was like, let me try a couple scream things in here, and did it in my old way. I'm like, this is not sustainable. And the stuff that I'm listening to anyway, I love the juxtaposition. I mean, if you want a metal band that screams, great. Yeah, good luck finding it. Yeah, there's a million of them, you know? But but it's the things that sound different that stick out, and that's what I'm drawn to. And it's why I love stuff like that Marriages record and stuff like that, because it's like, here's a big, badass band with this very, very light vocal.
Yeah.
But also... I mean, she belts a couple times for the most time for the
but she's got a pretty soft voice in general.
It's super soft, but it's like, but it mixes with like the darkness of that. I mean, I love that juxtaposition.
Totally, me too.
So like, I started with the Devil record. I started pulling the screaming back more, and went like, what if I just went for like pop vocal production? I got super into like pop vocal production stuff. I'm like, oh, let me try to do these big stacks and shit
I'm
like
way
that.
Into that.
Yeah. I'm like, it's just more interesting to me to like, anyone can scream and bark some shit out, but I'm more interested in like melodies and things like that and making like a super haunting vocal.
Yeah.
There's a band you would dig the shit out of called Spotlights.
I don't know them.
Spotlights fucking rules. I just discovered them.
Yeah.
And the record sounds amazing, by the way. The brand spanking new one. So picture like a big, badass, super bass heavy, like doom metal band, like sludgy doom metal kind of shit. But then the vocals are all, it's like shoegaze.
Interesting.
So it's all like these reverb drenched, like very light vocals in the background, but just like
Spotlight?
Fucking heavy.
I'm just gonna like put that into my Spotify.
Spotlights is great.
Now, so did you ever? So there's this one. There's a doom metal band from North Carolina. Daylight Dies.
I haven't heard of them.
I'll send you a link to the album called Dismantling Devotion.
Okay.
And it's beautiful. It's crushingly heavy.
Really?
Like, the guitar tones are just fucking massive. Like, oh my God, it's amazing sounding. But it's a combination of growls and screaming.
Okay.
Or growls and singing.
Yeah.
But the singing is beautiful. Like, it reminds me a lot of Opeth, actually.
Ooh, okay.
And like, I was a big Opeth fan in high school.
Yeah.
I still to this day, like, it annoys me how good Michael Agerfeld is at both.
Right.
And he sings in falsetto a lot.
Yeah.
And then he still has those really harsh growls. I guess they don't really do any of the harsh growls anymore. Now they're kind of like 70s prog.
Interesting, really.
Yeah, they went a different... I guess you could kind of see it coming.
Okay.
But now they kind of sound like Goblin. And it's like, well, that's the way they went. But, sorry, what was it? Sparrows? No.
Spotlights.
Spotlights. Okay. I just want to have it in there.
Spotlights is great.
No, fuck. Not the song. It's like, I just tried to click the artist so, it would go there. And okay.
But that was...
These guys?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, you want the other album's good, but you want the very newest album.
Okay.
And it sounds great. Like, the mixing's awesome. Like, for that type of music, it's great. It'd be a good mix reference, actually.
Cool.
But that's more and more just the stuff that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Is like, because I've done the songs where it's just like, balls out, screaming and stuff like that, and tearing my throat up, and I'm like, well, I'm more interested in like the juxtaposition of having something super big and super dark, but then
having that light.
contrasting vocals. Yeah. Because you don't. That's what I want to listen to right now, and I'm having trouble finding it. That's why I like freaked out. And I'm like, oh, this band is like what I was looking for.
Yeah,
like no one, like there's not a lot of people who do it that I've found. I mean, they probably are. I'm probably just very ignorant and haven't found them.
It's so hard.
Yeah,
there's so much out there.
That's true.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So it's like only like situations like this where I just learned about 4 new artists that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
So just the time, I guess, nature of the times.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, especially with stuff like Spotify, it's like you're seeing it's like, holy shit, there's like a genre that I just learned about and there's a million bands in it.
Oh my God. Well, especially when it comes to like metal.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
There's like 1,000 genres.
Yeah.
I thought EDM was bad.
Oh yeah. Once you start getting into the metal like subgenre stuff, that's why I'm like, fuck genre. I don't care. I just want to make the stuff that I like. And sometimes like my people would probably be very confused if they went to my Spotify and just clicked random.
Yeah.
Because they'll get a thing that's like, well, here's this super jazzy kind of thing.
Right.
Now he's yelling at me.
Right.
And, you know, and now here's like a dark electronic thing.
Yeah, but I mean, you are going to confuse people just because under the same artist name you have both production music and your artist albums.
Yes.
So that is, you know.
So it's crazy, but it's like the thing that I really love is seeing a comment on YouTube that comes up, and it's someone going like, "Oh yeah, awesome! My favorite songs from Blue Stahli are Give Me Everything You've Got," which is this like super heavy like hardcore punk kind of thing, and Sunset Neon.
Right.
I'm like, huh?
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's, I think that the because it's such a like singles culture
right
now and things like that, and it's, you know, like gone are the days where you disappear for 2 years making a record and
totally,
you know, and the same people are still there waiting.
Yeah.
I think that's also sort of like it's now okay to admit that your tastes are diversified. Because like when we were growing up, it was kind of like, are you a rock guy or are you a hip hop guy?
You know,
it's like, it's none of your business.
No. It's interesting because I battle with that a lot myself. Because my tastes are very divergent. And definitely throughout my career, there have been very two distinct sides of what I put out, where there's the club sound that, you know, certain people know or more people know, really. And then there's the not. Right. And balancing the two worlds has definitely been a point of confusion, I know, for a lot of people, certainly record labels, and
for sure,
like a lot of people on the business end then couldn't figure out like who the hell I was, because just the identity was like, but he does this, but so maybe, I mean, you don't tour a lot these days, right? You're pretty much all studio.
No, I haven't actually taken Blue Stahli live yet.
Okay.
I've toured as as part of a 2-man Cell Dweller live show in 2010 and 2011.
Okay.
And the only other thing I did outside of that, well, before I moved up to Detroit, I played in a drag queen fronted punk rock band.
Sick.
Yeah. And then was the like composer and DJ for a fetish burlesque troupe that would play Vegas and shit all the time.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's been a weird ride.
Yeah, no kidding.
So those were like my live experiences before that.
Yeah.
And then before the live Cell Dweller stuff kicked in, is when I really got the most into like acoustic kind of singer-songwritery sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I played around a couple places just doing acoustic, you know, just solo acoustic sort of stuff. And, you know, it was mostly covers. And for me, it was just like, it was vocal practice. You know, 'cause it's like, oh, this is the range that I want to expand. So, you know, I would pick these different songs or do like different arrangements of things. And there's recordings floating around out there.
Really?
It'd be great if I could bury them all, but there's some that are floating around.
Have you done any covers?
I have.
Yeah.
Like released?
Yeah.
There's a cover of David Lynch's Ghost of Love.
Okay.
That's when it's released. I did a cover of recently I did a cover of Rebel Yell.
Really?
Billy Idol.
Yeah.
I did it all like you know, super like hybrid trailer
cool
kind of stuff. So you know, like do you know, that code.
Yeah, it's a sync track.
Yeah. It's definitely. That, and then the other ones that I was doing, like when I was doing that that acoustic thing, most of it was either IMX songs or Sneaker Pimps tracks that were back when Chris Cordner was the lead guy of Sneaker Pimps.
Okay.
So there was a couple of those, and then I remember I closed with an acoustic version of Head Like a Hole.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to hear that. That's cool.
It's out there. It's floating around.
I'll look. Because I was going to ask, like, if you've done a lot of acoustic stuff recorded, as opposed to just using it as a writing tool and then transposing it over to the electronic.
Well, something that I still want to explore. I was working on putting this together.
Yeah.
And I still have a lot of the arrangements and stuff worked out. Again, just like by ear, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But I was working out, because I like those things of like vast dichotomy. I'm like, what if I took like some of my really heavy songs and stuff like that, and then just did them in like an acoustic manner with like a little bit of production. There's one that's out like that. I'm so stupid. The song Scrape. I did that as like a soft acoustic kind of thing. Like wrote completely new vocal lines and stuff like that. And there's people who write in like, I prefer this version.
I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so I have like a lot of the stuff from the debut record worked out as like acoustic track, and Ultranon was certainly a bitch to work out, but I have the arrangements worked out where it's like I was at one point I was trying to put together a live Blue Stahli show that was going to be like these alternate versions of these tracks where it's like it's that, but there's still like production and there's still like beats and stuff like that.
Right.
But the more and more time got put into it that was like taking away from working on new records and stuff like that.
Right.
It was also like, oh, well, maybe there's a lot of people who are waiting to see this stuff live, and maybe their first times, like they're going to show up and like, yeah, he's going to yell at me for an hour straight. Right. And then like, here's my ukulele.
Right. You know? It's just the bait and switch. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, this is probably not the best.
Right.
So that's it's still something I want to explore, and it's stuff I love. It's stuff I love doing.
Yeah, I think you just have to prepare people for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you can't tour it until you release it.
Yes, very true.
And then once you're like, this is the acoustic tour,
right,
or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
but at least that way, then they know what they're getting into.
True.
And that's, I don't know. I battle or. I get myself in trouble because even on like the DJ side when I'm doing tour stuff like that, I never want to play the tracks people know of mine.
Really?
Because I know I've heard them 100 times, 1,000 times. I don't need to hear it ever again.
Yeah.
What I want to hear is like I want to hear the new stuff.
Yeah.
And just by the nature of how long it takes for things to get released, or the politics of record labels.
Sure.
There are tracks I'm playing out right now that haven't come out, and I finished them a year ago.
Oh my God.
But I'm just playing it because it's kind of hedonistic. I just want to do it for myself. But I don't know. It's just I would think about it myself too, because I do want to tour like the rock side of stuff. I do want to tour that live.
Absolutely.
And logistically putting that together is
crazy. I mean, when we were doing that Cell Dweller live show, we spent a year in pre-production putting that stuff together.
Right.
So we were like remixing all the songs. Like, okay, how are we going to pull this off live and make it interesting?
And because the thing is, like, the kind of music, like, sonic, like, just the production style of the way we do things, it's not that dissimilar.
Yeah.
So, how do you convert, all these different sources, 200 tracks, everything. How do you convert that into a 5-piece band?
Right.
Like, without using, 90 tracks of backing tracks.
Right. And making something that's interesting that people will have a good time at. And, because, like, I for sure don't want to put a bunch of energy into something that, like, ultimately looks lackluster.
Right.
Or, doesn't convey things in the proper way.
Right.
Although, thinking about that, putting myself in that headspace of, like, okay, well, how would I do this song live, has led me to doing other songs in different ways.
I'm sure of it. Yeah.
So like when I was initially planning, like, okay, putting like a big rock thing together, like I've got to come out and like play all the big heavy, like playing Scrape live.
Right.
Like that scream is going to take it out of me, like doing that every night because I don't know the safe way to do it.
Right.
Like, how do I get around doing that? And then just like found other little vocal techniques and other little things that I'm like, well, this is something I could apply to another song. Why don't I give that a try?
Right.
So even when it's something that it's like, hey, this may not entirely come to fruition, going down those paths, even just mentally, just trying to work things out and just try to like, reverse engineer a thing that doesn't exist.
Right.
Sometimes leads me to a breakthrough in something that was giving me trouble somewhere else.
Right.
There was a track where it's like, this needs super heavy vocals, but I don't don't know the right way to pull them off, and then like finding this alternate way of approaching it. I'm like, oh yeah, this song's easy. I got this.
Right. Just reinvent it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. That makes sense.
Basically, all my music is me trying to like work around my own limitations. Like, I don't know theory. I don't know this. I don't know that. What can I do? This thing. Let's try this.
You're pretty good at guitar.
I'm okay.
Yeah. You can work it out.
It's I started out, I called it 16-year-old guitarist complex.
Okay.
Where I was like super into like prog stuff, and
I never got out of that.
I was like way into Dream Theater and stuff like that. Yes. But I never had the patience to like learn the actual stuff. So like I even had like like a little VHS video of like the John Petrucci guitar method by John Petrucci.
Yes. We had him with the Ibanez, the Universe guitar.
Yep.
Oh my god, I had the book and the transcriptions and everything. Oh yeah.
And looking at those, I'm like, this is gobbledygook. I can't read any of this. The video is fun.
Right.
And he's telling me all this other stuff that like I don't know what any of this stuff is. I'm like, tell you what, I'm just gonna pick up a guitar and start playing.
Yeah.
And the thing that changed it for me, because like I was super into that, and I would just get super frustrated with myself because I'm like, well, I'm dumber than these other guys. I can't do this type of stuff. And then I found the band Course of Empire.
Okay.
In their album Telepathic Last Words.
Yeah.
And that changed guitar for me. Telepathic Last Words and sort of rediscovering John Lee Hooker changed guitar for me. Yeah. Because that's a guy who's like, he's not like a technical player, but you feel every damn note he plays. Sure. You know?
Yeah.
I love John Lee Hooker songs. My favorite one is not on like Spotify, like easy to buy somewhere. I got to pull up on YouTube. But I freaking love what that guy does. And where he just sort of like attacks the guitar. He's like, well, I know that this makes this kind of noise, and this will work. And he's a storyteller, and he's lived that stuff, and that guy is an art. Like as soon as you hear his voice, it's like, this is real. This is real. This is legit. And it's like all of the training and stuff goes out the window because that's the space that he occupies is entirely his own, and is just like, it's like that guy's a god.
Right.
And Course of Empire was like the first thing that I heard where it's like the riffs are super tight and everything. Also very like kind of like Middle Eastern influence, which I love that stuff a lot.
Me too.
But there would be this like wild unpredictability to some of it, where it just sounded like the guy was just attacking his guitar in parts of it.
Right.
I actually wound up emailing back and forth with him, and he like detailed out like, oh yeah, I just plugged straight into the board for this, and this was just a one take.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sort of thing. So it's like all the noise, and feedback and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I freaking love it. So all those like mistakes, or not mistakes, but like the humanity and like he bent this a little too far.
Yeah.
And he's a very awesome, amazing, like he's a technical player, but it doesn't sound like a technical player.
Right.
And that sort of wildness and unpredictability is what really drew me in, because all up until then, I was like, well, no, I got to play this like super tight, super honed, very, very, very controlled way of approaching guitar. And now what's way more fun to me is to just go at it and go crazy, then edit it together.
Right.
I mean, there's tracks of mine where it's like, it's that hyper editing kind of, like Not Over Till We Say So is like super fast, like thrash metal stuff. Every note in that thing is time corrected.
Oh yeah.
But like, because it's a force of habit at this point.
Oh, I'm the same.
Yeah. It's I keep telling myself like, nah, I'm just gonna have this like raw guitar over the top of it. Nope. I wind up correcting stuff, but I'm way more relaxed with it now because I like the humanity of like, I already have all these drum machines, so like big guitar noise.
I go through phases. I mean, sometimes, most of the time, especially if it's a pretty intricate part, it's super time corrected. And I always end up, I track the DI and then I correct the DI and then I reamp that.
Okay, yeah.
And that's kind of my way of making sure everything is perfect without, because I hate the sound of time stretching out distortion.
No,
unless I want that sound.
Yeah.
But, so it's so by habit. Yeah, I mean, I just time correct almost everything, and it's a curse I got from BT.
Yeah, I definitely know, because I went through that period where it was just like, I went through. I'm still in it.
Yeah,
where
right.
just like it's like hyper editing, hyper time correcting, stuff like that. But then I would listen back to it. Like there's been plenty of times where it's like I'll listen back to a record that I did, and a song will come on where I'm like, man, I should have just left that as a regular performance. Like this would have sounded cooler if I just did. But yeah, hindsight is 2020. You know, like there's some songs where it's appropriate for, and some songs where it's like, this maybe could have been more. I could have communicated what I wanted better.
Sure.
If I did it this way.
Yeah.
There's a million different ways to approach a track, not necessarily right or wrong. It's just what you want to do with it. And like anymore, I'm kind of like embracing the mistakes and the imperfections, and like I want every sample to be all super aliased and everything. You know, right. I'm gonna like drop the resolution down on everything. What do you think of that? You know?
That's what I think of that. No, what I started to like, I used to be super tight because I would correct vocals always. Like vocals would be super fucking tight. And this isn't even like once you take the stacks. I mean, just the lead itself.
Yeah, sure.
Would be really, and I've loosened up a lot on that. I'll tighten them up a lot. And a lot of times now, and maybe it's just the way the way I'm seeing my vocal phrases evolve, but I'll end up time correcting to triplets actually pretty often.
Interesting.
And it's not because when I'm singing it or I'm writing the melody, I'm not thinking at all about.
You're just going.
I'm just going like this is what feels right, and then I don't realize I did kind of weird triplet interpolations until after the fact.
Interesting.
And then I'm editing through it, and I'm pulling like this sounds way fucked up if I'm just quantizing it to 16th notes or something like this doesn't feel right at all.
It's got no groove.
And it's like, oh, weird. Well, in this bar, 2 of those notes were quarter note triplets, but the rest are straight. But that feels right.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
Yeah, like anymore, because I'm someone who's I feel like I'm constantly approaching this from a place of like, you know, I don't know what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm constantly experimenting and like, well, maybe this thing. Like, I think a lot of what I do is probably technically not the right way to do it, but I'm like, well, this sounds cool to me, so why not?
Well, I don't know if anything's really technically the right way at this point.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I think because I've thought certainly a lot about like technically you don't mix into a mixer or into a limiter. I'm sorry. And, you know, everything has to be not peaking. And I think also with just the advent of modern technology, all those rules have changed.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I think there are certain, you know, fundamental lines you should follow.
Sure.
But for the most part, if it sounds good, it sounds good.
Yeah.
So who cares?
I mean, a lot of the music I really, really like if you analyze it from a technical standpoint, it's not mixed well, you know, or it's like, if I did that same song, it would then sound like way overproduced or something like that. And it would completely remove the charm that's in this thing. Yeah. You know, so like all those things of like, you know, just noisy lo-fi bits here and there and things popping out. You know, I mean, nothing so egregious as like not fading an edit or something like that. Sure. But there's even cases where I've heard tracks that have that in as well. And I'm like, oh, that's wrong. That's not what you're supposed to do. I'm like, but this track sounds badass. Right. And they did it in a way cooler way than I would have done it. So there's always stuff to learn from. And I feel like everyone who says that like, well, this is the right way to do this. Sure. Then like a year later, something comes out and is huge and like dominates. Like, oh my God, how'd they get that sound? It's like, oh, it's a 17-year-old kid in Fruity Loops who is just messing around. He's like, didn't follow that rule. Right. That's why it sounds different, because it sounds like him. Right. Right. It's funny. Actually, one of my favorite albums ever is Converge's Jane Doe. Yeah. And I didn't because I grew up with that album. Or I mean, it came out when I was in high school. So, you know, I was obsessed with it at the time, and I really never got out of that obsession. But I could never figure out why it was so aggressive sounding, aside from, you know, of course, like the guitar tones and like the performances are really aggressive. But I later find out the album is just clipped to death. And I didn't realize it, you know, and like, but then I go back and I started listening, you know, very critically, as you do. Sure. And the whole album is just digital clipping. Wow.
Because they didn't know what they were doing at the time. Like it was like the first real record that they did themselves.
Right.
So they didn't know the proper way to do things. And they recorded it analog, but it's still clipping everywhere. And then when it gets mastered, it was just digital clipping. So that's what makes it so fucking aggressive, is just because, and I mean, it's also, you know, it's the material. The material itself is so distorted already that, you know, you're not going to necessarily know. It's not like an obvious clipping.
Sure.
But later when
you know what you're listening for.
When you know what you're listening for, it's like, oh my God, that's the reason.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all. I got to go back to that record now.
Yeah. I only discovered that 2 years ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I see. That's the sort of stuff that I absolutely love. And yeah, I think it's why I like just going down those weird rabbit holes of like finding all these weird, you know, new artists and things that I haven't heard of, because it's people approaching things in such a different way.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of people who get locked into a mindset of like, this is the way that you produce. Sure. This is the way that you will make a song. Right. It's like, that's limiting. It's just going to be homogenous. Totally. You know, and like there's such a world of different, not even just different production techniques, but songwriting techniques. Yeah. You know, and people doing very, very interesting things. Totally. And that's why I've always said that like Blue Stahli is a multi-genre project, because I like too many different things to just go like, I'm metal. Right. You know, because no, I'm not.
You're not really. You're metal influenced.
Yeah, I like loud guitars, but I like pretty vocals over the top. Yeah, you know.
Well, you know what's interesting too? Don't shoot me for saying this.
Hit it.
I could see a lot of crossover of like the new metal bands.
Okay.
Like, you know, like even like the guys like Trapped and Stained, and you know, because like they did have those very big vocal melodies on top of, you know, the like your choruses. They come like it's like all fancy production tricks, and then when it gets to the chorus, it's a simple chord progression, it's a soaring melody, and it's not that far removed from. Not it's been a while. That's like way too, you know, but. Even like, you know, the way you do guitar intros and stuff like that. Sure. Where, you know, like, stylistically, it's just then yours gets really hyper produced, and you have more of an industrial, you know, influence and everything like that. But I mean, I remember also, because I remember talking with Fixed originally, and they were telling me a bit of like Clay's background about how, you know, he picked up a lot of momentum because of that new metal scene going on at the time. And you two, of course, you know, you share a lot of similarities within your music at times. And it also makes sense that, you know, it's very accessible. Oh, yeah. It really is. Like, if you get beyond just the kind of more off-putting, not off-putting, but, you know, like mainstream ear off-putting, like the hyper edits and the aggression, when you get down to the hook, there is always a big hook. Right. And it's very obvious. Yes. And absolutely. And it makes sense. You could also then essentially, you know, transpose that over to an acoustic setting. And, right. But I don't know. I don't know where that was going. It was just this thought. But no, you're correct. Like that's the funny thing is that like whether someone is lobbing like a regular observation or a criticism at what I do, it's like, yeah, you're probably right. You know, because there's just influence from so many different genres and stuff like that. And what made me even want to do stuff in this way was like I was doing you know, I was just a 15-year-old kid making like, you know, 8-bit music and trackers and stuff like that. Yeah. And I would get like the CD soundtrack album from a movie, like from Hackers or from Virtuosity, stuff like that, where it's like it's all in the service of like it feels like it belongs in this movie because it was. But it's all these different bands in very different styles. So it's like on one record, it all felt, there was all like a connective thread. Yeah. And that it's like, oh, like I'm picturing the atmosphere from this film or how this made me feel and blah, blah, blah. But it's, you know, there's some anchor there. But the genres are like, there's a rock song and there's a hip hop song and there's like a soul track and stuff like that. Yeah. And I would listen to that and like, why can't why is this got to be a soundtrack? Why is this got to be various artists? Why can't this be one artist just doing all this stuff? I would buy the shit out of that. Right. And there's probably, you know, that's certainly
limiting for, because there's a lot of people who it's like, I just want a rock song, or like, I just want a soul song, and don't you dare turn that guitar up. So, there's a lot of people who it's like, I just want the thing that I'm after.
Right.
But I'm like, I know that I would want to take that ride.
Yeah.
So I like doing that stuff a lot.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That's why I've always left it open. Is like, Blue Stahli is a multi-genre thing. I never come down hard on like, I mean, I basically tell people like, for the most part, for the vocal things you're going to hear, like, it's basically going to be like electronic rock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's,
okay, so the worst question I ever get always, and I'm sure you get it too, is like, how do you describe yourself? And I never, right?
Yeah.
Like,
with pink hair.
Yeah. That's it, Musically, no, just pink hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not very physically attractive, but, damn, he can spin a yarn.
Yeah, right.
That's the only way to describe it.
And it is bright.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Like, if you were to describe, like, how would you? Man, I guess you kind of did just now, but
kind of. But like, it's so like what I've said in the past to people is like, for a lot of the vocal material, because I know that they're going to like go to iTunes, or they're going to go to YouTube, or they're going to go to Spotify.
Sure.
And they're going to hear the things from Anti-Sleep alongside the things from this. And like, I mean, I did a song with a rapper a year ago. Right. It's like a full on, it's just like a electronic, like rap track, it's a hip hop thing. It's like, there's not a guitar to be seen the entire damn thing. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. And it's so hard to encompass that. So I kind of tell people, I kind of give them that movie soundtrack vibe. Like, hey, you're spinning a radio dial, but it's all in the same city. Like whatever mood you're in, I have a song for you.
As long as you're in my city.
As long as you're in my city. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Where it's like, if you can tolerate my vocals, then you'll probably enjoy most of it. And if you don't, then hey, there are a lot of instrumentals too.
I like that. That's good.
Because I'm kind of of the mindset that like, it's a big world. There's room for everybody.
There should be.
Yeah. And like there's people who hear some of the tracks like, oh, I don't like any of what you do. I'm like, cool. You don't ever have to hear it again.
Right.
But there's people who do like it, and that's who I'm doing this for. Right.
Would you say you're doing it for them, or they're an ancillary benefit for you doing it for you?
It's both, because I had like a hard time growing up. So like, music is what I dove into.
Right.
And so I was like the kid sitting there in headphones listening to like Skinny Puppy's Last Rites album.
Yeah.
Just completely mesmerized, like by the sonic chaos and the big, like, big sound collages and stuff they would put together. And like, you can't, like, trying to reverse engineer it. I'm like, I never will.
Right.
But just loving every minute of it. Stuff like that, or like, stuff like Circle of Dust and things like that from back in from the 90s. Just loving stuff like that. That's what I dove into. And even when I started to make music then, it was done with the goal of like music and art and, films and books and things like that have saved my life and have gotten me through the most difficult parts of my life, and have gotten me through absolutely hellish conditions and continue to do so to this day. Yeah. So I'm like, all I want to do, like, this is my life goal. What certain songs have done for me, I want to do for other people.
Right.
So like, I can remember like taking drives and, I'd listen to like one song over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And that would just be such a cathartic sort of thing. And just driving and listening to music was like such a big thing to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if this song, and what blows my mind is like, it could be a track that like, it's in another language.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the guy, I think he'd be singing about going to the store and buying milk.
Right.
But the way that he's saying it really hit me.
Just the way it resonated. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, totally. a universal appeal.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a cliche for a reason that like music is a universal language.
Sure.
It really is a uniting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's things that I love that are in another language that I'm like, this is one of my favorite songs ever made. It's like it's helped me through like the hardest times. Like if that can do that for me, this guy has no idea who I am. I'm just some freaking kid, you know,
right, sure.
Some dummy over on the other side of the world. I'm like, if I can do that for someone else, then all of this was worth it.
Right.
And that's still to this day what I do that for. Even though I'm doing things where it's like I'm making the type of music that I want to make, or like fuck the genres. I don't care what's popular, what's going on. I want to do this.
Right.
What I've seen time and time again is that like even the people who are kind of super niche with their genres and stuff like that are like, you know, here's this like experimental band who does this like, you know, improv noise stuff. There's a dedicated fan base to it.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. That's so encouraging.
And that's what's interesting too, because like you were saying about wanting to give back to people going through something like that. Also, I mean, I think with the style of music that you do, the audience for that, I mean, it tends to be, you don't have the high school cheerleader listening to Blue Stahli.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you might. And then, you know, she's got a dark side.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, there is always going to be an element of, you know, people who label themselves as social outcasts.
Sure.
And I mean, that's a lot of like harder music in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
But consequently, I mean, you're affecting people who can be very emotionally sensitive at that moment, or you know, on edge to a certain degree. And then when they reach out to you, that's naturally, no one's going to say just like, oh, your song rules. You know, I mean, they might, but you know, you're going to get some really heavy feedback.
That is like I've had I never thought I would get messages like that. I hoped I would.
Right.
But
well, it's arrogant to assume you would also.
Yeah. I'm like I assume like no one has ever heard this stuff.
Right.
Like, it's my mom and my wife who hears these songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would get these messages in from people who were like everywhere from someone saying like, yeah, I was in the hospital and doing like physical therapy, and this was my motivation to like get up and try to walk again. There's been so many messages for like a very sad amount. I mean, good that like these messages came in, but like I didn't expect the amount of them from people saying that I was incredibly depressed and I was going to commit suicide.
Right.
And this song or this song spoke to me and got me through that. And a lot of the times the songs that they point to are ones that are like, they're very, very dark. They're things that came from like, I didn't even have a solution in the song. It was me just like expressing like, this is how this feels in this moment.
Yeah.
I'm going through something that I can't entirely put into words. I'm trying my best.
Right.
It's the lyrical equivalent of a David Lynch movie. You know, it's like, you make your own interpretation.
Right.
But the fact that they had then taken that and applied it to their life in such a way that it made a positive impact, I'm like, that's worth more than anything else. And it's like, it's incredibly humbling too, because to get that from someone, it's like, this is a person dealing with like some incredibly heavy things that like not a lot of people are going to relate to.
Sure.
And I don't ever put myself as like, well, my song is the one that pulled them out of that, blah, blah, blah.
No,
like I write them back. I'm like, I'm glad you're doing better. And I'm glad that in some small way I could be part of the soundtrack to you realizing, how much you're worth.
Right.
You know,
that's
like
a good answer.
I had nothing to do with that. You realize that.
That's a really
I'm the
good
soundtrack
answer.
to your movie of getting to the end credits and seeing that they're awesome. You know, like it's not due to me. I suck at lyrics, dude. Like that's the hardest part for me. I'm just more, when people send me messages like that, I'm more just kind of taken aback and honored that my song that I wrote thinking like no one's gonna know, like no one's gonna connect with this. It's just me doing this dumb thing. But the fact that someone heard that and applied it to their life and like that's it's like humbling to me to know like wow, that song got to be part of that person's life and that person's journey of like helping themselves out of this or going like, hey, I should talk to someone. You know, like, hey, there's something else that, there's someone else out there that feels like this. Okay. That's all I wanted was to know that I'm not alone.
You're not alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And, like that's what it is for me that like, I'm honored that I get to be part of their life in some small way. It's nothing that I did.
Does it ever feel like a burden?
There was a point, there's a track that I'm probably rapping this week.
Yeah.
That is incredibly dark and not like there's a lot of songs that I've done where it's like there's like a motivation behind it, where it's like, hey, here's the dark part, and then the chorus is like, hey, here's the not the answer, but like here's the tiny little speck of hope, sort of thing. Right. And the lyrics for this particular song were written during an incredibly dark time, and it's an ongoing dark time and something that I'm dealing with. But like I had to stop and read back over it. I'm like, God damn, that's bleak.
There's no speck of hope.
Yeah. I'm like, God damn. But it's but when I step back and look at it again, I'm like, like also examining the music that I was listening to that was helping me.
Sure.
I would then read those lyrics. I'm like, oh, this is the same.
Yeah.
And I'm connecting with this song because it feels like the only thing that kind of gets where I am.
Not everything has to have a happy ending.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's been said a happy ending is just depends on where you stop the story.
Yeah. It's happiness is the remission of pain.
Right.
Yep. So like I did have a hesitant point with like there's two new songs with like the lyrics came really quick, which never happens for me.
Right.
And it was because
usually that's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the situation was so dark when I'm like, this is the snapshot of what's going on right now. And at first it was like, man, do I have to put a turn in here or something? And I'm like, no. I like the way to do this is the most honest way because the art that speaks to me
is the most honest.
Yeah. It is the stuff where it's like, I like a lot of stuff where it's like, there's not a happy ending to it. Or it's like, it is a super, super dark thing. And the speck of hope that's in it is knowing that someone else made that. Knowing that someone else, to me, the speck of hope with all of this stuff, whether it's like a movie or a book or whatever, when someone is dealing with like with something very very dark or very oppressive in their lives, the absolute dark thing would be to succumb to it. Right. The constructive thing is to take it and make art out of it. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm in awe of like David Lynch films and stuff like that, where it's like here's some very dark material, but it's put together in an artful way, and there's this like surreal, dreamlike quality that I love getting lost in, and like really helps me and really speaks to me. So I'm like, well, if that does that for me, then even this other bit can do that for someone else. And the important thing is that it's honest, right? Because like I think it would come across as disingenuous if it was all of that, and then there was suddenly.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, just like, you're saying with David Lynch, like even look at something like Nine Inch Nails' Hurt. Yeah. There is nothing happy in that song,
True.
But fuck me, like, I feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's helped a lot of people.
It has helped.
Yeah.
Like recently I've been listening to Alice in Chains a lot again.
Okay.
Awesome. And like the whole Dirt album.
Yeah.
Lyrically, oh my God, is it depressing. It is so heavy. But, it's like that feeling of ecstasy almost when certain songs hit you the right way. It's like that glow within your chest. I mean, it's totally like a physical experience. It's totally weird. And I get that from it's rare. I have gotten that on occasion, like with a happy song every now and then. But, you know, but most of the time it's like, it's a dark song.
Yeah.
Because then I relate to that emotionally on some level. And then again, ultimately, we're all just looking to feel some form of community, to feel like we're not alone in this planet.
Right.
So, yes, if you do, I mean, if you add that happy twist onto something just because, like, well, I feel like it's really dark, so I need to put a spin on it.
Yeah.
That might ruin it for the person.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it's not, like you said, it's disingenuous to your actual feeling in that moment. Mm-hmm. So,
plus there's like it's the sort of thing where it's like you're never going to do just one song.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like this is it's going to come out as a single, but it's ultimately going to live on an album with other things that are going to be expressing other emotions.
Right.
And yeah, it's very possible that this entire record may be lyrically a bummer, but
that's okay.
Yeah. But it's honest.
Right.
And that's all I can do. And yeah, when I take a step back, and when there is that first little twinge of, like, you know, like you mentioned, responsibility, like, oh, like, do I, like, knowing that some people in some situations are listening to stuff like this, do I then have to couch certain things? I'm like, no.
Because that's not your responsibility.
Yeah.
Your responsibility is to create.
Yeah.
Your responsibility isn't to influence anybody via your art.
Yeah.
People will be, just inherently by the nature of people being people.
True. I think that exactly when you start doing that is exactly when you lose the plot.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah, because all those songs that people responded to, that they send messages about, like, there's a couple songs that they'll mention, and I can remember when I wrote it, and, like, it was about a very, very specific thing that I'm like, this is super abstract. No one's going to know what this is. It's just something that means something to me.
But they're going to apply their own meaning.
Yeah, but it worked.
And it's better when you don't. I definitely think it's better when you don't say exactly what the meaning is.
No.
Because that ruins someone else's interpretation of the song.
Exactly. Because I always hate that when there's a song that, like, you know, it means a very specific thing to me, and then I read an interview and they're like, oh yeah, I was talking about my truck.
Right.
Like, oh, cool.
Yeah. And you suddenly feel disconnected to the song. No, I think there needs to be an aura of mystery to everything.
Absolutely.
You know,
that's what can get lost a lot in like a hyper connected culture where it's like we're always on 24/7. It's, you know, social media. You got to be connected and stuff, and people go like, "Oh, what does this song mean?" Like, what does it mean to you?
I actually just don't respond.
No,
for most of that stuff. I just choose not to. I could, but I just don't want to, because the minute you open the floodgates, then you get other questions. Yep. And then it becomes an interview that you don't want to actually do.
That's true. Yeah, there's only ever been like one song that I gave a hint as to what it was about, only because it was like, it was possible to be misconstrued in a very, very wrong way. So I'm like, I want to make sure you know that this is not this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like, it's this, that's the only one I'm going to tell you about. Right. The rest, that's all you. But like, don't come at me with pitchforks for this one.
I've been vague because I started embracing being more open, or I tried being more open, I should say, about a year ago when I started putting out more like the rock stuff. Yeah. So, and I would write these like long blog posts, and I would post all the lyrics and everything. I would give semi-vague interpretations of, you know, the song was written about this person, but I never would say who this person is. I would never say, there's just, this person inspired me for this reason, and just leave it at that. And then, I mean, it's kind of obvious sometimes when you listen to the lyrics, and it's like, oh, I know what happened there. But I even question now if I should even bother doing that, because
I don't think you need to.
I don't want to.
Yeah. If it's all of that stuff where if you feel like you're, to me, again, like I'm just some dummy trying to find his way through, but, you know, just going off of what I've done in the past, or like when I've tried to do that or like hint at something, it's always felt wrong to do. Yeah. Not that it's like, oh, I shouldn't have given this up, or like, oh, this is dishonest of me. It's like, no, this is giving too much. This could potentially ruin the experience that someone else could, because it's not about me. The song's out there. It's about what they connect. Like I'm in service. Like I'm just glad to be part of someone's soundtrack.
Right.
You know, I'm some dummy making this stuff.
Yeah, I know. The other fear I have about it too is then people knowing too much about me as a person.
True. Yeah.
And that's a weird one.
Absolutely.
You know, because just by the nature of what we do, there is an exposure level.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you give away too much, then they suddenly know you.
Yeah. Can you believe Matt Lange thinks this?
Which is weird.
I'm going to set his house on fire. Like, well, don't do that. Just don't buy the next single.
Right. You know? Well, you're not going to buy it anyway.
Buy the next single.
No, no one's going to buy it. Which is fine. They'll listen on Spotify. I don't care. But no, it's a weird balance, though. You know, because I do think, especially in these days, like you were saying with social media and like the noise floor is so high.
Yes.
Like you really need an identity for people to actually care, because there are so many people out at any given moment that unless you have something that actually separates you, and it's not just going to be your art that does that.
Unfortunately, yes.
No one really gives a fuck about the art.
Nope.
You know, it's just like, why do I care about this person? Oh, because this person represents something that I see within myself or something like that. So then you have to balance, you know, how much of myself do I give away? How much do I keep for myself?
Right.
Because everyone else, they're going to build this profile, this identity of you based on what you give them.
Yes.
Now, that can be fun because you can totally mislead them. But by that same token, then it is disingenuous. And if you're trying to be more, like, really create this identity that is true to who you are, you have to give parts of yourself away.
Yep.
And finding that balance of how much do I give, what is the exposure level? Because then when you go out and then people recognize you,
there's an expectation.
There is an expectation. And that's dangerous.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, that's why I very early on made a conscious decision to like all of my online interactions and stuff like that, and all my social media interactions with people. It would be very easy with the type of the music that I do to make like a persona. Yeah. You know, and be like, oh, he's like super, super dark and fucked up and blah, blah, blah. And that's not me. I mean, like, yeah, there's things internally, but...
I get that too, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, yes, but it's the quiet storm. It's what's on the
There's
inside.
Nothing quiet about you.
I know, it's very true. That's very true. A little boisterous. So, like, I would go to shows... And I would see bands that were like had that very like mysterious, ominous kind of feel, right? You know, and I would be seeing them at like a small venue, and the entire crowd was super super hip, you guys, and like they're probably looking at me and thinking the same thing, but in my head I'm like I'm just some fucking moron here just to hear this band sing, you know. But
why
like,
are you so self-deprecating?
I don't know.
Yeah. Like,
it's ingrained.
I guess so.
But like, like I remember watching band members come up on stage and like, you know, like very very awesome artistic, you know, dark theatricality and everything. Yeah. And all I could think, because I love like comedy and like dumb comedy and stuff like that. All I could think was like, if that person like slipped and fell on their ass right then, I'm like, what would this crowd do? Like, would that completely destroy the illusion for them? You know, I've seen it, like they walk up, their pants fall down or something like that. Like, oh, I can't take this seriously now. Like, this doesn't have this, you know, I just saw this person's ass for a good minute and a half. They didn't
Suddenly
notice.
He's human.
Yeah. So I made a point early on that it's like, I'm not going to have like, you know, I mean, like it's obviously a filtered version of me on there. It's like, well, what are the things that are going to translate versus like what you have to know me to know. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't want to put forth a like, oh, I'm this tortured artist and blah blah blah, and here's me on a fainting couch with a rose in my teeth. Right. That ain't me. Yeah. Like, I don't want to do something dishonest like that, because then when if I meet someone in person, or if I'm playing a show and I'm talking between the songs, like, this is what this guy's like. Yep. This sucks. I don't want that. So I'm like, how I am is how I am
Right.
on there.
Yep.
Where it's like, if I walked on stage and my pants fell down, they'd be like, this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he still writes some stuff that's very affecting to me and makes some fun stuff too. But like, this is not out of order from what I expected.
Right.
It's pretty much on par.
Yep.
I know I'd see his ass at some point.
It's fun. I started fucking with people, dude. Well, people don't realize I'm fucking with them, and that's why it's funny. But because I just visually, like, I love visual art. I mean, like, my parents are photographers. Like, I grew up in that world.
Awesome.
So, like, I just love it. And I take a lot of photography myself.
Yeah.
So I do all my own artwork. And I'll just post, like, I love high contrast black and white. It's just stylistically, I just love it, you know? So I post these things, and just the other day, I just took that, like, with some, like, overlay stupid video thing on top of it.
Sure.
It was just like a little clip of a track I was working on. And then I wrote underneath it, "It's dark and hell is hot." And what people don't realize...
I saw that.
That's DMX. It's a DMX album title.
That's awesome.
And if you, it's like it's the joke.
Yeah.
Because like, it's obviously completely, I'm not being serious.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But you know, you take this dark imagery and you put some dark thing, and the music's dark, and then automatically, oh, that's so...
Right.
And I'm just sitting back in my chair with like a glass of wine, like, idiots.
Like you touched on some of my favorite stuff. Like I love horror movies and stuff like that, and like super dark cinema and stuff like that. But my favorite are the ones that can perfectly mix that with comedy. Yeah. Or when you see something where it's like, like Jordan Peele made Get Out, right? You know, and had a perfect mix of that tone. Where it's like the levity was where it needed to be, the darkness was where it needed to be, the message was where it needed to be, and it would all work together perfectly because he knows what he's doing, right? And some of my favorite things are the stuff where it's like, where it's something that's meant to be satire of something, but is more enjoyable than the thing that it's parodying. Sure, I love stuff like that, and it's like for some reason it's like endearing to me more so than the things that I feel like they're trying to keep me at arm's length. Because then you're in on the joke. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Then you connect to it. Right. Yeah. So like I love nothing more than seeing that that like an artist has a sense of humor, or that they're cool about this or that. And especially if they do something that's like that's like dark. And I mean, I'm wearing a Twin Peaks shirt right now. Like that's like, there was as much horrifying stuff as was in the new season. There's a lot of comedy, right? You know, and a lot of just like weird, awkward comedy. I'm like, that is extremely my shit. Yeah. Yeah. You know, like that, and doing both of them well. Right. You know, where it's like, that's what feels human, especially, and that's a perfect example because it's something that's like so, kind of labyrinthine in its dream logic. I probably completely mispronounced that, but it's labyrinthian. I don't know. Crazy. Super complex. The fact that both things were done so well, right, meant that it's like you could appreciate even more so the comedic aspects, right, and the horrific aspects. Sure. And it like amplified both of those things, right. You know, so I feel like when I do that stuff, or like when I joke around online or something like that, I'm like, in some ways it may make some of the other stuff hit more. Right. I agree with that. Yeah. Because you need the dichotomy. Absolutely. And that recontextualizes everything else. Yeah. And I think, not like you said, everything, like it even comes down to, just the way you look at Loose Stahli as a project. Right. It's everything gets mixed together. Right. And the minute you constrict anything just to one pure identity, or one like purest identity of what it is, you're just constraining, I think, the art behind what you're trying to do. Absolutely. So. Absolutely. The only way that I branched things off was that I just did a new project called Sunset Neon. Right. That was all like, because that was a very deliberate, like, I had some songs where it was like, well, this doesn't totally fit somewhere with other Blue Stahli stuff. Yeah. But if I made more things like this,
Then it becomes a project.
This could all live together,
Yeah.
and I want it to all have this very specific feel.
Right.
So that was the aim with that.
Yeah.
Whereas like with like, that's the funny thing. This new Blue Stahli record that I'm working on now, I had all the demos written for it, but I keep changing them around, or like as things keep happening, I write new stuff. I'm like, okay, those demos still exist.
Yeah.
I'll get to them.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that's speaking to me now. And I love the fact that because we both do a thing where it's like you don't entirely know what the next thing is going to sound like.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like no one goes like, "Oh, Matt Lange, Prague House," and that's it. You know? It's never going to be that, or like, Blue Stahli is a
Industrial metal.
Yeah. It's going to be that. Nothing like, I mean,
Right. Yeah.
I feel like if you, for the people that can't step outside, it's like a self-awareness thing where it's like, for the people that can't step outside of it, I like to look at things where it's like, as if I'm in a Seinfeld episode experiencing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, there's records that I love that, they'll be like super heavy and super dark and stuff like that. And you get to the end, like, I get it, man, but like all the time.
Sometimes you need a record like that.
Yeah. Sometimes you do.
Like there are certain records that are just so oppressively dark the entire time that, again, you listen to it because you know exactly what you're getting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I love records like that.
Absolutely.
Like,
I'm with you.
The Sufjan Stevens album.
Oh man.
Carrie and Lowell. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. I think I was depressed for like 3 months straight because of that album. Because I couldn't stop listening to it.
Yeah.
And actually, but like you were talking, I mean, that had a really good, like the instrumentation.
Yes.
Was very major key. Mm-hmm. And often very bright sounding.
Right.
And then the vocal would come in.
Like, what's he saying? Right.
But holy fuck. I mean, that record, I think I was in a gloom for that long. Only because every time I turn on my car, it would, automatically start playing the last thing I had just been listening to.
Right.
And it was that. And it's like, the minute it would come on, oh, no, you're down in the hole again.
Yeah.
And you can't get out of it. You just have to go through it. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was brutal.
But those things are definitely important.
Yeah.
I think that stepping outside of it every now and again sort of gives you the context of like, I know that I don't want to come off in a way where it's like, oh, he's feigning this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where
Right.
it's like, for me, that's like my honesty check.
Yeah.
To like, if there's a record like that, or if it's like, it's a super bubbly sort of thing.
Sure.
Then you see him show up in TMZ, like, it's like, oh, strung out on crack and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, that music wasn't honest.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, oh, it's this thing and this is the product that you wanted to put out. Cool. That's what you wanted to put out. But seeing things like that doesn't matter what side of the spectrum it's on.
Sure.
For me, it's like a little self-check of like, oh, I don't want to come off I don't want like someone to like then look at it and then look at me and go like, oh, this isn't real. You're just trying to peddle me something.
Sure.
You're not being honest to how you feel. So it's like that's why my stuff goes from like, different highs and lows of the of the lyrical spectrum, only because it's like it takes me so damn long to write a record. Well, so it's
you call it the parabolic response of
yes.
What was the phrase?
What did I say?
It was the parabolic response of healing, or
the parabolic response of healing. Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, just the way you described it. If like when whatever impact hits you, you have very high peaks and valleys, and as you look at the decay of this 808 kick drum, so to speak, which is your emotions, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah, eventually, the dynamic range between the peaks and valleys just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Right?
Yeah, and it's no it's no coincidence that it's also time-based. Sure, if you're looking at a kick drum, that's like, it's like, less than a second or whatever, but it's still time-based, away from that initial event to like, you eventually get closer and closer to that baseline and things evening out the farther and farther away and the more like the more distance and the more perspective
Yeah.
that you get on it. But I mean, that's also predicated on someone looking back over their shoulder and going like, oh, hey, this, like, what can I learn from this? Because I mean, there's plenty of people that we're all guilty of it in some fashion of staying in that,
right?
You know, so it's like if you're looking at that like kick drum wave and like, okay, I should be following this path, like going all the way to the end of this file.
No,
but
she just really likes FM.
Yeah, but it's like, oh shit, I'm not actually doing this in a healthy way. So I just put 2 loop points up and now it's going back and forth on this thing. And I'm just stuck in this, like we've all done that with
anything.
Yeah. It's never something that you truly fix. You just try to be conscious of like, oh shit, I have my loop points on.
Right.
I turn that shit off.
Yeah.
And then that's like, if you're approaching it in like in a healthy manner, that's when you start to hit that baseline. And I've done it. It's just from doing it wrong so many times and doing it wrong still. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta do that.
So what do you do now to get out of your loop?
It's really just trying to step back and identify when I'm doing it because I've been there so many times.
Right, just catching yourself in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So doing things to break the routine, because I'm someone who the only way I get anything done is because I'm like, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go do this, I do this, because it's things I don't have to, like, what can I, like for food, what can I make the fastest that will just keep me alive so I can just make music?
Right.
I don't care what it tastes like. Just put hot sauce on it, it's going to taste good. Like, travel with hot sauce. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I'm too much in my own head. I'm too much in this one zone. I need to take a drive somewhere that I haven't been before.
Yeah.
Have some sort of outside influence in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, I've never had a heroin needle stuck between my toes. Why not I do that? You know, don't do that.
Right.
Yeah. So
that was a joke.
Yeah. I hate the way I have to clarify. But like trying to identify and break myself out of even if it's a healthy routine. If I'm not in a healthy mental place, then it's like I need to do something different
just
for a
break
second.
your conscious state. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, if it's taken a day,
right,
or if it's like I need to watch the film Split Second for the 35th time, you know, which is fine because it's a great movie.
Well, then it's not really breaking your state.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. That is the like if you're. So, yeah, sometimes like running to the comfort stuff.
Yeah. That can kind of keep you locked in.
It can keep you locked in.
Yeah.
So, sometimes it's the thing of like remembering to like, oh wait, I should, I need to do something decent for myself rather than just beat myself up. Cause there's been plenty of times where I'm like, well, there's so much stuff that I have to do and so many things, like I can't let any of this stuff get to me,
right.
Blah, blah, blah. So I have to keep soldiering on. Yep. Sometimes it's a case of like, I gotta like I gotta take 2 hours.
Yeah. You know, separation.
Just something for me.
Yeah.
But the things that have always been the biggest things to break me out has been intentionally doing something to break that routine just for a couple hours. Like go to a drive to somewhere you haven't been.
Yeah.
Get out of the car.
Yeah.
You know, like listen to different music or listen to a podcast or like I recommend Tap Tempo. Anyone listening? Mm-hmm. You're already here. Or, you know, like an audiobook or something like that. Or nothing at all. Just get out of the car and walk. There's been so many times where it's like just walking somewhere and not even listening to anything. It gets your head in a different space.
I mean, I find, when I need a break, I don't listen to anything. Mm-hmm. I go outside and no music.
Right.
Because I just need to hear nothing. I need to hear nature or whatever it is. You know, I just need that break. I need that separation. Because the minute I crawl back into that studio, we know what hole that becomes.
Oh, yes.
So,
and then you never come out.
No.
I'm like, we just want, like, there's been so many times. It's obviously different now that I'm in Los Angeles, but in Michigan, I lived around like a bunch of woods and stuff like that.
It's like 10 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you going to go out? You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there would be plenty of times during the few months where the weather was decent.
Right.
Where I'm like, I need to wander into the woods.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if the Blair Witch can kill me, you know, like I'll give chase, obviously, but I'm gonna make
that would be like
I'll make her work for it.
That would be a change.
Yeah,
yeah, refreshing.
Not necessarily positive, but a change.
Well, it might be good for the witch.
True.
Yeah, you never
True.
know.
I'm just helping her resume out, man.
Hey, she's got needs. I'm sorry.
This is, man, I love my favorite thing about this conversation is that like what a perfect encapsulation of that notion that it goes from like, here's a serious thing that we're talking about, now here's a dumb riff, and you know, like the fact that it's everything all at once, because it's like, because otherwise it would be, if it was just us pontificating.
Well, you've got to be totally dry about it too. That's what makes it funny.
God, yes.
There has to be this air of like, are they serious?
Kidding? Yeah. That is my favorite thing to do, dude. Like, if people don't know that I'm kidding.
It's beautiful.
It is. It truly is.
Hence DMX.
Yes. That's all. You know, it's funny. Like, I remember seeing that in the feed, and like I remember seeing the video and clicking on it to listen, but didn't see what was written.
Oh yeah.
But I like
it was written was a Nas album.
See,
New Yorker,
full circle.
I know.
Oh, I love it. But the great thing is, like, I'm not familiar with DMX outside of random barking, so I wouldn't have caught it anyway.
Right.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I like taking little lines out of songs sometimes, like not even my own songs. Mm-hmm. Just, I don't know, like I did it once with like Peter Gabriel or something like
awesome.
that. And you just take that one little line out of context, and unless people really know the song, they know every line of the song, they think it's like something poetic. I mean, oftentimes the line could be poetic because someone, you know, way better of a songwriter than I am wrote it. But the way it can get recontextualized is always that's what I find exciting about it.
Maybe I should shock the monkey tonight.
Right.